Good day, everyone. So, today we will discuss cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domains of objectives as basis for constructing teacher made tests. But before dealing with that, let us first tackle what our objectives in this topic. Next slide, please. At the end of this discussion, future teachers should be able to identify the domains of cognitive, psychomotor, affective, and CBTS and the assessment of values. Second, connect the relevance of these domains to our degree program. And last but not the least, listen attentively to the concept for us to better understand making tests and lesson plan. So now let's focus first to the cognitive domain. So now let's tackle one by one the domains of the cognitive aspect. Number one is knowledge. Knowledge refers to the recall of information such as facts, terminologies, problem solving strategies, and rules. This is the retrieving or recalling of previous learned information. So, for example, recite a policy or a poem, or where in grade 2 we recited the multiplication table for us to remember the products of each factors. So there are technologies that can develop the knowledge domain in the cognitive part, like flashcards or reading. So sa una, mag-flashcards man ta, like 1 plus 1 equals 2, or flashcards like picture sa Apple, then ang mga students na ang mismo mo identify kung unsa na siya na item. So, kuan gid ni siya. So, maka-recall siya or maka-retrieve siya og previous information. Next is the comprehension. Comprehension is the degree of understanding that requires to change the form of communication, translate, restate what has been read or heard, see connections or relationships among parts of a community or the interpretation, draw conclusions, see consequences from information or the inferences or insights nila sa ilahang nabasa or nadunggan. For example, they need to rewrite the principles of test writing, or they classroom setting na siya kay pwede ra ka like you will call students to identify what is the definition of a certain vocabulary baron or pick, and then you will call another student to explain in their own words unsa ang giingon sa ilang previous classmates pag-una, para mahibaw-an gid nimo og ma-test nimo if nakasabot ba jud ang mga bata sa imong gi-discuss. So here are the ways to better to have an improvement kani sa comprehension, like they need to create an analogy, they need to participate in cooperative learning, because when they need to interact among other people, they can understand the different insights of baron or peers, and then they can apply or kanang mura sila og makaingon ni ay o sakto man niya hang giingon, pwede na nila ma-apply sa ilang kaugalingong learning, or kanang storytelling or kanang mag-browse lang sa internet. Next is the application. This use previously acquired information in a setting other than the one in which it was learned, because problems at this level are presented in a different and applied way. One cannot rely on content or context to solve the problem. So, asan na gani ko? Applying, no? Or in other words, this is the use of concepts in a new situation or unprompted use of an abstraction. So, this means lang kanang ilang nang i-apply ang ilang nakatunan sa lain nga aspect or sa new nga instances nga ilang ma-encounter. For example, when I was in my first year college, I have this friend of mine nga wala siya kasabot sa usa ka concept sa math. And then nakasabot man ko sa kanang pag-discuss ni Miss ato. So akong gituluan na akong classmate in order for him to really understand para po makabaw siya unsaon jud ang way or paagi sa pag-solve ani nga problem. So I am not only helping them, teaching them the way how to solve a problem. So I am also applying what I have learned ug unsa akong nasabtan sa pag kanang discuss ni Miss. So the examples, or they can also apply laws of kanang kuan baron, laws of katukang Newton gani, laws of motion bato or and so forth, so on and so forth. Next is the analysis. The analysis is the identification of logical errors or differentiate among facts, opinions, assumptions, hypotheses, conclusion. One is expected to draw relations among ideas and to compare and contrast. So, this separates material or concepts into component parts so that its organizational structure may be understood. So, in this part of domain sa cognitive is that students should or can distinguish between facts and opinions. For example, when we were in grade 12, we were taught by our media and information literacy teacher na we need to kanang sort facts and kanang misinformations in order for us to kanang disseminate correct and accurate data or news. So, by that, we are also analyzing if tinuod ba na siya or kanang gama-gama lang na sa mga tao. Or for example, karon sa political views, like daghan ang nanggawas nga mga peke nga mga informations about the candidates. So, it's our job as a citizen of this country to analyze and distinguish the facts and unsa ang dili tinuod para maka-choose jud ta og kanang suitable candidate to manage this country. So next is the synthesis. Synthesis requires production of something unique or original. At this level, one is expected to solve unfamiliar problems in unique way or combine parts to form a unique or novel solution. So this pertains to the organization of data, giunsa pag-construct sa usa ka student ang iyahang information. For example, ang teacher kay nagpaha essay about kanang about a certain topic, and then gitan-aw sa maestra giunsa pag-synthesize, pag-organize ang information nga gikuha sa mga bata, or kanang this also pertains to creating a structure or pattern from diverse elements, or kanang emerge ang ilang mga ideas into one, then mag-apply din sila sa ilang na synthesize or na organize nga idea sa usa ka aspect. So mao ni ang mga ways to better improve the synthesis of the students, like create a new model or write an essay sa like what I mentioned earlier niya. network with others or work with others. Kaya if they can gather few data or information, they can sort it out man from the least important and to the most important ng mga information nga ilang nagather. So last but not the least is the evaluation. This requires the formation of judgments and decisions about the value of methods, ideas, people, products. They must be able to state the basis for judgment. For example, evaluating. So they will make judgments about the values of ideas or materials, like they need to to find a solution, an effective solution para maka-cope up on a certain problem, or they need to hire the most qualified candidates like what we are doing right now, like atong i-evaluate, atong i-judge kung kinsa ang nindot or kinsa ang kamao jud mo daan ni nga country for a better community or tomorrow, or explain and justify a new budget. So in evaluation part, this is crucial because students are making judgments naman. So if you don't have cognitive domains that I mentioned earlier, you can't evaluate or make judgments man. Kaya you need kanang all of the domains are involved man if you are going to judge or to have a kanang opinion about a certain concept. So now let's proceed to the behavioral terms used for the domains. So one is knowledge. Define, describe, identify, recognize, name, list down, select, and label. So as I said earlier, this is recalling or retrieving an information lang. Next is comprehension. Convert, distinguish, defend, give example, estimate, paraphrase, explain, discuss, predict, extend, summarize, and generalize, or in certain topic. And then application, change, prepare, compute, use, discover, modify, relate, and discriminate. So they are applying their knowledge na sa bisan asa na aspect. Next is analysis, is break down, diagram, subdivide, illustrate, infer, separate, discriminate, outline, and point out. So they are going to divide the kanang information to facts or kanang important o dili kay important. Synthesis is design, create, organize, categorize, reorganize, plan, devise, combine, rearrange, revise, comply, tell, modify, generate, and rewrite. So the organization of their kanang knowledge. Evaluation is appraise, conclude, justify, contrast, criticize, interpret, and discriminate. So now let's proceed to the psychomotor domain by Miss K. Pasio.
So, psychomotor domain. Psychomotor domain of objective is concerned with the purposeful motor activity of physical skills. This is classified into perception, set readiness, guided response mechanism, complex over response, adaptation, and origination. So let's go first to perception. So perception this is the process of becoming aware of objects, qualities, or relations in which one or more of the five sense organs are involved. The sense organs are auditory, visual, tactile, gustatory, and olfactory. So perception is the ability to use sensory organs, like for example, you're going to estimate where a ball will land after it is thrown, and then moving to the correct location to catch the ball. So next is set readiness. So set readiness, this involves the physical, mental, and emotional to perform the work. For instance, in mental, it involves the perception and discrimination to do the activity. Physical, positioning the body and focusing attention, emotional unwillingness to respond or to do the work. So, set readiness is the readiness to act. This is where learners are thinking what are they gonna do on how to start to do the things that they want to do. So next is the guided response. So guided response, the activity is done through imitation and trial and error method. So the guided response is where imitation and trial and error method occurs on. And when it comes to learning, the trial and error method is effective because we all know that we can learn from our mistakes and failure. I am not saying that we must do mistakes in order to learn, but what I mean is that mostly of our mistakes and failures gives lesson to us. And next is the mechanism. So mechanism, learned response has become habitual. The learner has the confidence and response is part of his repertoire. It is complex in that abilities are combined or patterned in action. So mechanism, the movements can be performed with some confidence and proficiency. So learners are able to construct and organize and measure. So next is the complex over response. So the movement pattern is done with skill, smoothness, efficiency, and minimum time and energy are utilized. So complex over response, the skillful performance of motor acts that involve complex movements patterns. So in this category, it includes performing without hesitation and automatic performance. So like for example, you won, then you utter words that can express that you're happy and satisfied with the result. So next is adaptation. So adaptation, changing motor activities to meet new problems requiring a physical response. So skills in adaptation are well developed and the individual can modify movement patterns to fit special requirements. So modifies instruction to meet the needs of the learners. So time to learn new things. And lastly is the origination. So origination is creating new movements with or without equipment. So using previous levels of the psychomotor taxonomy. So the learning outcomes of origination emphasizes the creativity based upon highly developed skills. So the behavioral terms of psychomotor domain is assemble, build, calibrate, clean, connect, construct, correct, design, cut, dismantle, drill, fasten, fix, grind, manipulate, mix, write, mend, draw, illustrate, perform, measure, execute, install, and handle. So next is affective domain by Miss Gineverne Randoy.
So, good morning, everyone. Now I'll be discussing the third domain, which is the affective domain, that involves the feelings, emotions, and attitudes, and includes the manner in which we deal with things emotionally, like appreciation and motivation, etc. This domain is categorized into five subdomains, which includes first is receiving. It is the lowest level of the affective domain. It is simply the awareness of feelings and emotion. It involves passively paying attention and being aware of the existence of certain ideas, material, or phenomena. So without this level, no learning can occur. If information has never received and cannot be remembered. So like for example is listening attentively to someone, watching movie, listening to a lecture, and so in order for the students na makalearn, dapat they need to listen to someone na nagi ma ay na sila ma-remember nga lesson. And next is responding. So this level involves actively participating in the learning process. You are not only aware of a stimulus, but you react or respond to it in some way. Like for example, having conversation, particip- particip- uh, participating in a group discussion and giving a presentation. So in order for them to na sila yung learn ang mga students, they need uh, to participate sa like oral recitation. So next is valuing. So it is the ability to see the worth of something and express it. Valuing is concerned with worth you attach to a particular object, phenomenon, behavior, or piece of information. This level ranges from simple acceptance to the more complex state commitment. Simpler acceptance may include your desire for a team to improve its skills, while more complex level of commitment may include taking responsibility for the overall improvement of the team. Like for example, is you proposing a plan to improve team skills, supporting ideas to increase proficiency, or informing leaders of possible issues. The next is organizing. So in organizing a value system, um, it involves putting together different values, information, and ideas, then relating them to already held beliefs to bring it into an internally consistent philosophy. Essentially, it is ability to prioritize one value over another and create a unique value system. The focus of this level is on comparing, relating, and assessing values to create a unique value system. So, like, for example, is spending more time studying than playing sports. Um, in short, kanang time management. While while nag-work ka, you, you also spend your time sa imong family, and also na if you're doing your lessons, pwede na sa ka makaonin na time management. So next is characterizing. So in this highest of effective domain, it is about internalizing values. It means acting consistently in accordance with the set of values you have internalized and your characterization or philosophy about life. Essentially, you internalize values and let them control or guide your behavior. Like for example, as you spend time with your family, you refrain from using profanity, and you make friends based on personality and also characterization. So, ma-reflect mo kang na attitude sa like sa ikong friends nga murag kanay kanang mga takdan ka sa ilahang the way they treat other people. Okay, next. Six. Okay. So the behavioral terms of effective domain is appreciate, admire, initiate, show respect for, participate actively, find pleasure, observe strictly, observes carefully, become aware, utilize wisely, listen attentively, form sound judgment, sustain interest in, comply with, and benefit. Okay, next.
Okay, next is the National Competency Base for Teachers Standards, or NCBTS. So, NCBTS, this refers to the knowledge and skills of the 7 domains of the teaching profession. So, the 7 domains of NCBTS are social regard for learning, learning environment, diversity of learning, curriculum, planning assessment and reporting, community linkages, personal growth and development. So, the first one is social regard for learning. So, okay. So, the social regard for learning, learning is regarded as social activity in school. Learners and learners are the people in school society who are taught in all walks of life, be it academic, social, spiritual, moral, and many others, in order to mold them to become good citizens of the country. Cultural musical contest is a social activity in school wherein learners are trained to discover their potentials and talents. They are brought to different places like educational tour to observe things relevant to their lessons. So this domain refers to the ideal of the teachers that serves as positive and powerful role models of the value in the pursuit of different efforts to learn. So the second domain of NCBTS is the learning environment. So the learning environment should be conducive to learning. Well ventilated classrooms are must to make teaching learning process effective, efficient, and excellent. So the learning environment should be compatible to students in order for them to have comfortable learning area where students feel that they are interested in learning, and that makes also your teaching effective if the learners and the learning environment they are in is compatible. So the third domain of NCBTS is the diversity of learning. Uh, the diversity of learning, varied learning activities must be taught to the learners in order to develop in them a well-rounded personality. All fields of endeavor are introduced to them so that they can become experts not only in their forte or fields of specialization, but in other fields as well. So, this third domain refers to the domain that emphasizes the ideals of the teachers that can facilitate the learning process even with diverse learners by recognizing and respecting individual differences. So the fourth domain is the curriculum. So the curriculum must be relevant, realistic, and responsive to the needs of the society. So the curriculum domain refers to all elements of teaching, learning process that work in convergence to help students understand the curricular goals and objectives and to attain high standards of learning defined in the curriculum. And these elements include the teacher's knowledge of the subject matter and the learning process, teaching, learning approaches and activities, instructional materials, and learning resources. So next, Ms. Junavern.
So next is the fifth domain of the national competency base for teachers standards, or NCBTS. So it is the planning, assessment, and reporting. So the domain of planning, assessing, and reporting refers to the aligned use of assessment and planning activities to ensure that the teaching learning activities are maximally appropriate to the student current knowledge and learning levels. In particular, the domain focuses on the use of assessment data to plan and revise teaching learning plans, as well as the integration of formative assessment procedures in the plan and implementations of teaching and learning activities. So in particular, the domain focuses on the use of assessment data to plan or revise teaching learning plans, as well as the integration of formative assessment procedures in the plan and implementation. So next domain is the community linkages. So the so it um it is focuses on the ideal that school activities are meaningfully linked to the experiences and the aspiration of the students in their homes and communities. Thus, the domain focuses the domain focuses on teachers' efforts directed and strengthening the links between school and community activities, and this help in the attainment of the curricular objectives. And the last domain is the personal growth and professional development. So it emphasizes the ideal that teachers value having high personal regard for concern for professional development and continuous improvement of teachers. Next is
Now let's move on to the assessment of values. So we all know that values is under the affective domain that includes the interests, appreciations, and attitudes of an individual. So these 10 characteristics are expected na naani siya sa usa ka student. So one is love. So we all know kanang what love is, and love doesn't only revolve around your romantic relationship with your kanang with an opposite sex. Love is all around, like love sa imong family, friend, sa imong teacher, kay maayo kay siya mo discuss. Love for your classmates because they help them when in times of needs, and kanang or even strangers kanang when they suddenly help you, or kanang na-attract ka, or kanang ganahan lang ka ng certain person, that is called love. So students should have kanang characteristic like kanang love, because if they love something or someone, ang ilang harang ganahan nga buhaton for that something or someone is to give their best. For example, kita, especially sa teachers or sa education nga aspect, we all know in especially these times we are struggled by a lots of activities, by our mental health, by our financial problems and all of that, but we are still here, we are still learning, and we are still striving hard for a better future because we love this course. We took this course because we have so much passion about it. So when we say love, this also kanang pertains to interest. So, like what I said earlier, the understanding, peace, and happiness. So if you have An understanding, there is peace. Since kasabot ka ani nganong, for example, nakay problems nga mahitabo or naay problems nga ma-encounter, like you will not focus to the negative side nga ay nako problem and I can't bear with it, but instead you are going to understand and you are focused to the positive side that all of these have kanang reasons. So if you have that understanding, you will also have peace nga that problem will be kanang overcome by yourself. And then happiness, and if you have a peace of mind or unsa baron, then you will achieve kanang happiness or genuine happiness. So ang love, this is not only kanang focusing sa kanang uyab-uyab or what, but also to other aspects like the happiness, understanding, and peace. Next is the honesty. So honesty kanang it also kanang katawag ganay. It also pertains to being truthful, trustworthy, moral, and just. So honesty is the second important value that an individual or a student must possess. You have kanang fair judgment, kanang just na kanang pagful, kanang dili ka mamakak, trustworthy ka bisan asa ka ibutang, like all dili lang ni sa secrets alone, but like kanang makasaligan ka, like if ikaw ra isa sa balay masaligan ka kay kabalo ka mo kanang kuan mo kaamping sa mong kagalingon ni nana or sa inyong balay, trustworthy ka sa school kay kanang imuhang record kay good, and then you have a moral and kanang you have a just kanang like na kay stand sa imuhang kanang belief or unsay kanang sakto mao na imuhang sundon. Because if ang students don't have kanang honesty, dili sad sila honest sa ilang kaugalingon. Like for example, if they cheat in a test, actually they are not kanang unsay tawag na the teacher kay kanang dili siya ang maguba. Dili maguba ang iyang image nor ang iyang kuan, but instead it's you. Kay ikaw man ang nanundog or kanang nag-cheat sa test. So kanang ang tan-aw sa uban nimo is dili na ka masaligan, dili na ka truthful, and kanang dili na ka honest sa imong kaugalingon. Next is the spirituality. Next slide please. Next is spirituality. The spirituality means you are a God-loving person, humble, friendly, generous, and sensitive. So spirituality, wala lang siya nag-focus po sa aspect about kanang God, but also how to be humble, sensitive, generous, and friendly to other people. Like, if pareha na sa kanang love no character gani, if you love something kanang imong buhaton ang tanan para lang ma-achieve to. Sa spirituality sad, if you love God, all the kanang other characteristics na di-mention diri sa assessment of values will follow. Kay since you love God, you also fear God. And I will also want to emphasize humility, because some of the people, like if they have achieved something in their life, they neglect to become a good person. Some people kanang they degrade and kanang humiliate other people nga wala pa na-achieve na something sa kinabuhi. But we all know baya na we all have different timelines and the world is not consistent. In one snap, it can change. So, ang imuhang status sa economy or sa life is kanang can be changed, but the way you treat people will not be changed. So if you are humble, kanang for example sa mga artista, like ang chika ni Ivana Alawi kay katong na turn off siya sa iyahang ka-date kay kanang he shouted at the waiter nya kanang rude kuno kaayo si kato iyang ka-date. So dito iyang katong ka-date ni Ivana nagpakita nga dili siya humble kay kanang he kanang degrade other people baya, and we all know waiters and waitresses are working hard to kanang to be able to kanang survive every day in their lives. So next is the sensitivity to religion, especially sa mga Muslim, like kanang some people they generalize nga ang mga Muslim are bad people, like mga terrorists. So in that aspect we need to be sensitive sa ilang religion kay we all have different beliefs, we all have different ideas or interpretation even sa Bible. Ang atuwa lang is to respect and to be sensitive with what we say and what we act to other people. Next is generous. Especially during these times, we need to be generous because people are very kanang they very worked hard or kanang kinahanglan gid sila og tabang for sustaining their needs, like kanang some people kay natangtang na sa trabaho and then they cannot be able to provide what they need. So as a good individual you need to be generous or help even in a small way, like tagaan nimo og bugas baron, like inana. Next is industry. So the act of being industrious, resourceful, and responsible. So industry is the fourth ideal conduct or value that a person must possess. Even if ang person is naatong tulo nga akong gi-mention earlier, which are love and honesty and spirituality, if they are not industrious with what they do or what they love to do, kay wala gihapon siya gamit. Because for example natoy meme sa Facebook nga nobody chose to be broke or unemployed. Stop looking down on people just because your door opened earlier than theirs. Sakto man ilang point, but kanang like they will respect sa kanang others, like they need to stop looking down. But kanang when you are kanang unemployed, kay it's your choice na jud, dili na jud na siya kanang chance nga kanang ikaw di wala ka trabaho. So you need to be industrious in order to be kanang, especially today nga kinahanglan na gid ta maghago sa atong kinahanglan kuhaon, like kanang if you chose to be unemployed, then it's because you are not industrious with what you kanang pursue or what you want to get so that you can have a job. So even if naa ka aning love, na kay passion aning kuan atong course, especially kani nga education, di gihapon kang mas successful if you are kanang if you love or you are honest or God loving alone. We also need to act to be industrious. We need to be responsible and resourceful with what we use para makahuman ta aning kanang course, because we cannot dili man ta maabot ani ron if dili ta mo buhat sa mga buhatonon sa mga maestra. So mao na siya. So next slide please. Next is punctuality. This is the fifth value that is being prompt in all things, wherein an individual must be punctual in performing everything. So, a student or an individual must be punctual. Kabalo mo nga no? Because if sayo mo maabot sa inyong giadtuan, sayo pud mo mahuman or daghan mo og mahimo. Inana gani like kanang if dili na mo kanang apas sa oras gani kay you have so much time since you are punctual and you kanang nituman ka sa inyo ang gisabutan nga time in ana. So next is the productivity. This is the sixth value. Productivity means prolific, dynamic, fruitful, useful, and creative. So, para sa giingon ni Ms. Jennifer paganina sa katong kaning organizing a value system. So, this also kanang means nga you need to utilize all the resources nga pwede pa magamit in order to have a kanang nindot gani like productive ang imuhang usa ka society or kanang productive ka as an individual. For example, like sa productivity, you need to manage the time sa ato nga mga students, especially karon. Like kita daghan kita og mga buhaton. For example, 6 kabuk atong buhaton sa usa ka adlaw. And then you don't know how to kanang manage your time. So, dili gihapon ka productive in that day. Or sa society baron, like sa bangus, kanang marius man di ay na ang bone sa bangus into fish tapa. So, in that way, ma-productive ang ilahang society. So, this also pertains to innovation and time management. Next is the thriftiness. Thriftiness is the seventh value, where an individual must be thrifty in using his time, money, and effort. So, being thrifty is being wise. So, if you are thrifty in money, in time, and effort, kanang magamit na nimo in the future. For example, sa money. If ever na unexpected circumstances na maabot sa inyong family, you can use that money para ma-solve to nga problem. Like sa time and effort, kabalo ka mo kanang tipid gani sa imong time, like in that span of if in 1 hour kanang dapat humana na kaani nga buhaton. And then sunod na sad ka. And then sa effort, wala ko nag-ingon nga you need to kanang minimize your effort. You also need to minimize your you need to use your effort jud kanang heavy nga effort kay para nindot pud og outcome. And then next is the courage. This is the display of bravery and guts. So, not every one of us have the courage in everything. Like example, kay mauwaw man ka, you missed several opportunities for you to become better or kanang para makatun ka ani nga certain field. Kay lagi mauwaw ka ma-judge. You have the fear to face people, the fear to be judged by others, or the fear of being a failure or disappointment. But will you settle for less? No, because kanang if you are only merely focusing on your comfort zone, you will not grow or you will not become better because everything gani nga atong i-explore labi nagdili na to kanang o kalabi nagwala sa atong comfort zone is that kanang makakat-on jud ka nga ay inani day ni. So all we need to do is to become brave and have the guts to take all the risk and to take all the chances na imong madawatan in your life. So next is the politeness. So this is the second to the last value. So a good student must be courteous and respectful to elders. Like when we were in our face-to-face classes, we need to greet our teachers or elders or even sa mga guards or kanang mga janitors gani. Like, good morning kuya, good morning guard, good morning ma'am, sir, inana. Being polite is also being irrespectful individual. Or kanang bisan sa mall lang nga magsugat mo sa inyong teacher, dapat jud ka mo greet or ug sa even sa imong mga classmates. On the other hand, naaman taron sa new setup, we kanang dapat dili gihapon nato iwala ang atong pagka-polite. Like if mo chata mo ana kita nga good morning ma'am, good morning sir, good morning miss, so that our politeness kay kanang makuan gani ato gani na magamit in the near future, labi na og kanang mag face to face classes na balik. So since nag-practice naman ka og kanang greeting sa other people, mausad na imong mabuhat throughout your life. So nationalism, so this is patriotism and the loyalty, appreciation and pride of one's heritage. So an individual must be proud, loyal, and kanang appreciate the beauty of his country or sa iyahang fellow men by buying kanang Philippine-made products. Like the Philippines has various kanang beautiful culture and beautiful kanang natives, like kanang lami sad ang mga foods, and but kanang natoy issue nga kanang being a K-pop lover kuno kay kanang that means nga kanang dili na ka proud or wala na kay patriotism sa imong country. Para sa ako, it's a no because I am also a K-pop lover and a K-drama lover, but I didn't set aside who I am or kanang asa ko gikan, and that is kanang being a Filipino living in Philippines. Kanang kanang obviously. So kanang inana lang kanang imo lang silang gi-admire sa ilahang mga beauty, sa ilang mga color, ilahang talents, but we never kanang forget who we are and unsa kanindot ang ato ang kanang country. So let us be reminded, future teachers, that in order for us to teach and to teach these following values, we must be the model and we must practice and execute these assessment of values personally, or kanang kita jud dapat ang makit-an sa mga students nga we have these 10 assessment of values, because if you don't have those values, maglisod sa loob to ang mga students nga inana di ay sakto din ang gibuhat ni ma'am, nalahi man ay sakto din ang giingon ni ma'am, nalahi man to ang gibuhat pag niaging adlaw, like she was rude with the janitor man. Nya ang imuhang gitudlo is kanang being respectful to the others and humble. So wronging na dayon. So we must need to practice and be a model to our students. So now let us proceed to Miss Judy to discuss about using statistical tools in Microsoft Excel and using the solution.
So, to assess the above values, a questionnaire must be prepared to determine how much the students practice these values. So, this is the sample assessment of students' spirituality. So the direction is below are the indicators of spirituality. Indicate the extent of practice of each indicator by encircling one of the options at the right column. The options are 3, 2, and 1 represent the extent of practice. Thus, 3 is always, 2 is seldom, 1 is never. Suppose there are 50 teacher education students in certain university who answer the questionnaire on assessment of students' spirituality. So the assumed results per indicator are as followed. So this is the mean interpretation. So to get the grand mean, so there is a formula. So weighted mean is the statistical tool used to determine the extent of practice of A weighted mean is the statistical tool used to determine the extent of practice of spirituality among the students. So the formula is, so x bar equals f sub 1 times or multiply by x sub 2 plus f sub 2 multiply by x sub 2 plus and so on and so forth until the the frequency will sub into 9 and the x to sub 9 also. So it will divide into frequency sub 1 plus frequency sub 2 until frequency of 9, because there are 9 indicators, and if kining 9 indicators malapas man siya under 10 or into 15, so the frequency will be sub into 15, so f sub 15 or sigma times f of x divide by sigma times frequency. So where x bar is weighted mean, sigma times fx equals is to sum of the product of f and x, where f is the frequency and x is the weight. Then sigma times frequency is to sum of frequency or the number of cases. So the computation, so to get the weighted mean sub 1 or the indicator 1 is to multiply the f and x, then add all the sum of fx, then divide by the total number of students. So the 90 plus 30 plus 5, so it's equal to 125, then divide by 50. So the weighted mean sub 1 is 2.5. Then mora ja po buhaton sa next indicator, or the second indicator 2 until indicator 9 to get the grand mean. So another example to get the indicator in weighted mean sub 2 is, so 28 times the number of students times the option. 28 times 3 is 84, then 14 times 2 is 28, 8 times 1 is 8, then add all the sum of fx, then it is equal to 120, then divide by 2 to get the weighted mean sub 2, and the weighted mean sub 2 is 2.4. Maragya pa is buhaton sa indicator 3 to indicator 9. So to get the grand mean, which is the mean, the total mean, so to get the grand mean, so the formula, again, get the formula. So diba gibutang naman sa formula tong sigma times fx divide by sigma or the sum of the product kining ang sa kanang grand to get the grand mean ang formula kay A is divide um sa individual sa individually sa indicator kay mana ang formula na lang is sigma or the sum of the product times the weighted mean. So divide by n. So n is the diba a formula kay sigma times f. So sigma times f is sum of frequency of number of cases or the number of cases. So number of the mean sa n kay pila ka book indicators. So sigma sum of the number of product times the weighted mean divided by the number of cases. So sum sa weighted mean. So giadto ni si sub kining weighted mean sub 1, weighted mean sub 2, weighted mean sub 3, weighted sub 4 to until sub 9. Giadd na siya tanan. Then pag-add sa tanan in total is 20.48. Then divide by 9 because there are 9 indicators. So the answer or the weighted mean, the grand mean is 2.28. There is a easiest computation to para dili na ta maghasula-sulyod na dili daghan kayo kanang steps. So there is a app na madali ra na to gamit, the Microsoft Excel. So here I just open my Microsoft Excel. Then so in the book there is a 10 steps to compute using the Microsoft Excel. So the step 1 is to switch on the computer. Step 2, wait until the start menu appears. Then third is hold the mouse, click start menu, click programs, click Microsoft Excel. So I know na kabaw na mo ani to start the menu, to click the programs, then search for the Microsoft Excel, then wait until the Microsoft Excel program appears. Kay sometimes maglag man na siya, so mag-wait ta. Then step 5 is to type the data. So example indicator 1. So in the book ang example la kay indicator 1. So sa example sa competition, mano-mano ang competition kay sa indicator 1 kay ang mean ra niya is 2.5. So the first one is to type the data. So until mag-type ka, diba, dito sa Excel kay hantod for how many numbers man siya. So kining option 3 magkutob ra siya sa 30 nga row kay there are 30 students who choose the option 3. Then 31 to 45, so equals to 15 students. So ang option 2 so iput na to si option 1 sa 46 to 50 kay there are 5 students who choose the option 1. So the next step is to highlight the data. So click the tools menu, then nara may data analysis dera, or kung wala gani niswat data like kini sa akong pakita data. Then pag-click niyo sa data kay na data analysis, so i-click na sa data analysis. Then sa step 7 the computer displays analysis tools. So nanay data analysis tools, then click the descriptive statistics, then click OK. Then the step 8 is the computer displays descriptive statistics. So dira makita naman niyo na descriptive statistics. Then input the range, the type the $, dayon column A, column A row 1, then colon, then put the kanang dollar sign, then column A row 50, then click, then click summary statistics, which is the step 9, then click OK. Then the step 10 will the computer displays as follows. So dili na makita to ang mean, the median, mode, range, and the minimum, maximum, sum, and count. So dili na to makita. So sa pagmano-mano na to pag-solve, di ba, parihara og sa indicator 1. So kini example dire kay indicator 1 na ni siya. So the main here kana nag-use tag Excel kay 2.5. Then sa pagmano-mano na to is 2.5 sa indicator 1. So para same ra yang paggawa sa value bisig mag longhand method ka. Then ang kini siya paggamit sa Excel, easy ra kay siya. Then kanang for kanang technology ang inclined nga person dira, pwede ra ka mag-use ka na nga type of computation nimo, which is mag-use ka og Microsoft Excel. So mora to siya. That's all.
So now our meeting is open for questions.
Number 1. When can we know that the students have applied the cognitive domain, especially in application aspect?
When students can carry out or use a procedure in a given situation. Also, they can think about the next steps in a given task or activity.
Question number 2. How are the 3 domains of learning applied in teaching?
My answer for number 2, the 3 domains are bases on the constructing of teacher-made tests. The 3 domains are helpful to the teacher that they applied it in teaching. It can help their students develop their cognitive skills, psychomotor skills, and affective skills. Number 3, in cognitive domain, how synthesis works.
Number 3. So it refers to the ability to put parts together to form a new whole. This may involve the production of unique communication, like theme or speech. It is also a plan of operation like research, proposal, or a set of abstract relations. Learning outcomes in this area stress creative behaviors with new patterns or structures, like for example verbs are to arrange, collect, assemble, organize, plan, set up, and etc.
The considerations of making these 3 domains are the following. First is it should help the students have cognitive development, not only in the classroom but also outside of it. They should be able to apply their cognitive abilities so that their thoughts or critical thinking will be improved as well. Number 2, the psychomotor domain that lets the students involve their motor skills and physical movement while learning. This can help students understand, engage, and enjoy the discussion even more, and they can learn certain concepts by doing something. And last but not the least is the affective domain, or the values that enable students to become better. These values are important in the 21st century because it can improve their own individual attitude, and their innovation can prosper as well.
Thank you for your time and attention, everyone. I hope you gained something essential to our degree program, especially in applying those to the actual setting. Have a great day and thank you.